I stood in the entrance of Mercer Hall, the city's most exclusive private dining room, and stared at the seating chart mounted on its gilded easel. My reading glasses hung on their chain against my chest. I didn't need them to see what I was looking at. The letters were large enough, clear enough. Table 12. The overflow table, tucked in the corner near the service entrance. "Is there a problem, sir?" The hostess appeared at my elbow, her smile professional, her clipboard pressed against her dark blazer. I pointed to my name, Robert Mitchell. "I'm listed here at table 12. She scanned her chart. "Yes, sir. Table 12. May I show you to your seat? I'm the guest of honor's father." Her smile flickered. "Just for a second." "I see. Well, the seating arrangements were provided by Mrs. Mitchell. If you'd like to speak with her, that won't be necessary." I'd already spotted Vanessa across the room. My daughter-in-law stood near the head table, her black cocktail dress impeccable, her auburn hair swept into some elaborate updo that probably cost more than my monthly utilities. She was directing servers with sharp gestures, repositioning floral arrangements, checking her phone every 30 seconds. My son Daniel sat at table 1, the head table. He wore the charcoal suit I'd bought him when he made junior partner. He was laughing at something one of his colleagues said, his hand wrapped around a glass of scotch. He looked happy, confident, nothing like the scared kid who'd called me in tears 15 years ago when he failed the bar exam the first time. I walked toward him. The room hummed with conversation, with the clink of crystal, with the low jazz playing from hidden speakers. 200 people had gathered to celebrate Daniel's promotion to senior partner at Whitmore and Associates. 200 people who didn't know that I'd paid for every semester of his law school education, that I'd called in favors to get him his first interview, that I'd sat with him at our kitchen table until 2 in the morning, drilling him on case law until he could recite it in his sleep. His mother would have been so proud. "Dad." Daniel stood when he saw me approaching. His smile was broad, genuine. "You made it." I was starting to worry. Traffic was light. I clasped his hand, pulled him in for a brief embrace. He smelled like expensive cologne and ambition. "Congratulations, son. Senior partner. Your mother would have." "I know." His voice softened. "I wish she could be here." "She is." I tapped my chest. "Always." Vanessa materialized beside us. "Robert, you look well." She kissed the air near my cheek. Her perfume was overwhelming. "I trust you found your seat?" "Table 12. "Yes. I hope that's all right. We had to make some difficult choices with the seating arrangements. So many partners and clients to accommodate. I'm sure you understand." I understood perfectly. I'd been pushed to the periphery, made optional, convenient to forget. "Where am I in the program?" I asked Daniel. He glanced at Vanessa. "The program? The speeches. I assume there will be speeches. Toasts." Vanessa's smile tightened. "We've kept the program quite streamlined. Just a few words from the managing partner, a toast from Daniel, and then dinner. We didn't want to make the evening too formal." "I see. But we're so glad you could join us," she added quickly. "It means a lot to Daniel. Doesn't it, honey?" Daniel nodded. "Of course. Dad, you know how much." "I need to check on the wine service," Vanessa interrupted. "Excuse me." She swept away, her heels clicking against the hardwood. Daniel watched her go, then turned back to me. "Sorry about the seating. It's been chaos trying to organize everything. Vanessa's been managing all of it. And with her mother visiting from Boston and her college friends flying in." "Her mother is here?" "Table 2. Right behind us. She arrived yesterday." I looked past him. Margaret Holloway sat at table 2, resplendent in navy silk, holding court among what I assumed were Vanessa's sorority sisters or book club or whatever collection of similarly polished women she surrounded herself with. She caught my eye and gave me a small wave. Polite, dismissive. My seat was near the kitchen. Her seat was at the head table. "That's wonderful," I said. "Family should be close on important occasions." Daniel's jaw tightened. He recognized the tone. He'd heard it before, usually when I was working very hard not to say what I was actually thinking. "Dad, I should find my table. Let you get back to your guests. We'll talk later, okay? After dinner." I want to hear about the boat. You said you were thinking about selling her? The boat. The 32-foot sloop I'd bought after his mother died. The one thing that had kept me sane those first terrible months when the house felt too empty and the silence too loud. Still thinking about it, I said. Don't do anything hasty. We should take her out together. Like old times. Old times. When he was 14 and I was teaching him to read the wind. When we'd spend entire Saturdays on the water. Just the two of us. And he'd talk about his dreams of becoming a lawyer like his grandfather. When he'd actually wanted my company. Sure, son. Like old times. I made my way to table 12. The overflow table. It was tucked in the far corner, partially obscured by a decorative column. The tablecloth was the same ivory as the others, the centerpiece equally elaborate, but the placement was unmistakable. This was where you put the people who had to be invited but didn't actually matter. I recognized one face, Brian Chang, a junior associate at the firm, mid-20s, nervous energy, cheap suit. He stood when I approached. Mr. Mitchell. I didn't know you'd be at this table. Neither did I. I took my seat. How long have you been with Whitmore? 8 months. I'm in corporate litigation. Your son's been mentoring me. Has he? Best mentor I could ask for. He really takes time with the younger attorneys. Doesn't just throw us into the deep end. I taught him that. Patience. Investment in people. Funny how these lessons stuck. The other seats at table 12 filled gradually. 2 more junior associates. Someone's adult children, clearly bored and checking their phones. An elderly couple I didn't recognize. We made small talk. They asked polite questions. I gave polite answers. Retired engineer. Widower. Daniel's father. Yes. Very proud. Yes. Quite an accomplishment. The program began. The managing partner stood, tapped his glass, launched into a speech about Daniel's dedication and brilliance and irreplaceable value to the firm. He told an anecdote about a case Daniel had won against impossible odds. He made everyone laugh. He made Daniel stand and take a bow. He never mentioned me. Vanessa spoke next. She talked about Daniel's commitment to excellence, his work ethic, his integrity. She thanked the firm for recognizing his talents. She thanked her mother for flying in from Boston. She thanked the event coordinator and the catering staff. She thanked everyone except the man who'd made it all possible. Daniel gave his speech. He thanked his colleagues, his mentors at the firm, the managing partner who'd given him his first break. He thanked Vanessa for her support and love. He thanked his mother's memory, said she'd be proud, said he felt her presence. He looked right at me when he said it, met my eyes across the room. And then he thanked everyone who'd believed in him along the way. Everyone, not his father. Not the man who'd refinanced his house to pay for law school. Not the man who'd sat in the courtroom gallery during his first trial, watching him stumble through his opening statement with shaking hands. Not the man who'd driven 4 hours in a snowstorm to bring him clean clothes and coffee when he was living in the law library during finals week. Everyone who'd believed in him. I set my napkin on the table, pushed back my chair. Brian looked up, startled. Are you all right, Mr. Mitchell? I need some air. Should I get Daniel? No need. I'll be fine. I walked out of Mercer Hall, through the lobby with its crystal chandeliers and oriental rugs, past the coat check, into the cool October evening. The street was quiet. A few cars passed. Somewhere, a siren wailed. The city moved on, indifferent to small humiliations and careful erasures. My phone buzzed. Daniel, where are you? Outside. Are you okay? Brian said you left. I'm fine. Needed some air. It's just the first course. Come back in. You haven't eaten. I'm not hungry. A pause. Dad, what's wrong? Everything. Nothing. How do you explain to your son that you've become optional in his life? That his wife has quietly demoted you from father to footnote? That he let it happen? I'm tired, Daniel. I'm going to head home. What? No. Dad, you can't leave. This is I want you here. Do you? Another pause. Longer this time. What's that supposed to mean? Table 12, Daniel. The overflow table. Near the kitchen, Vanessa did the seating. I didn't even look at the chart. There were so many people to accommodate. Your mother-in-law is at table 2. Silence. Your speech was very nice, I continued. Touching. I particularly enjoyed the part where you thanked everyone who believed in you. Dad, do you remember the night you called me after you failed the bar? You were sitting in your apartment, surrounded by empty takeout containers and study guides, and you told me you were going to give up, that you weren't smart enough, that you'd wasted my money and your mother's memory, and you should just go work at your uncle's hardware store. Of course I remember. Do you remember what I told you? You said Mom would kick both our asses if I quit. You said failure is just practice for success. I drove to your apartment that night. Do you remember? It was 2 in the morning. I sat with you until sunrise. We made a study plan. I called my old college roommate who was on the state bar board and got you into a prep course. I paid for that course. And the next one. And the one after that. I know. Dad, I know all of this. I'm not trying to make you feel guilty, son. I did those things because I love you. Because that's what fathers do. We show up. We invest. We believe even when you don't believe in yourself. His voice was quiet. What do you want me to say? I don't want you to say anything. I want you to think about where you've placed me in your life. I want you to think about why your wife felt comfortable putting me at table 12 while her mother sits at table 2. I want you to think about why you didn't notice. Or why you noticed and said nothing. It's just a seat, Dad. No, it's not. It's never just a seat. I ended the call, slipped my phone into my pocket, walked to where my car was parked 3 blocks away. A Tesla passed me, silent and sleek. A couple laughed outside a wine bar. Life continued. The world didn't stop for small heartbreaks. I drove home to the house I'd shared with Daniel's mother for 37 years. The house where we'd raised him, where we'd celebrated his graduation, his first job, his wedding, where his mother had died in our bedroom on a Tuesday morning while I held her hand and promised her I'd take care of our boy. The house felt too big now, too quiet. I'd been meaning to downsize, move to a condo, something easier to maintain. But I couldn't let go. Every room held memories. The kitchen, where we'd done homework at the table. The living room where we'd watched football. The garage where I'd taught him to change oil. I poured myself 2 fingers of bourbon, sat in my chair by the window, looked out at the garden his mother had planted. The roses needed pruning. The lawn needed mowing. Everything needed tending. My phone rang again. Daniel. I didn't answer. It rang 4 more times over the next hour. Then Vanessa called. Then Daniel again. Finally, a text. Please call me. I'm worried. I typed back. I'm fine. Enjoy your celebration. We'll talk later. Later came 3 days afterward. Daniel showed up at my house on Saturday morning, still wearing his running clothes, slightly out of breath. You weren't answering your phone. I was in the garage. Can I come in? I stepped aside. He walked past me into the kitchen, poured himself water from the tap, drank it standing at the sink. His mother used to scold him for that. Told him to use a glass like a civilized person. Vanessa feels terrible, he said finally. Does she? She does. She said she didn't realize the seating would be an issue. She was trying to balance so many different groups. Her firm colleagues, my partners, the clients we'd invited. It was complicated. I'm sure it was. She wants to apologize. Tell her it's fine. Dad, it is fine, Daniel. I understand. I'm not angry. He set down his glass, turned to face me. Then why do I feel like I'm losing you? The question caught me off guard. I saw the boy he'd been, 12 years old, asking me if his mother was going to die. 16, asking me if I was disappointed he didn't make varsity. 25, asking me if I thought he was making a mistake marrying Vanessa. I'd lied to him twice. Once about his mother, once about Vanessa. I wouldn't lie again. You're not losing me, I said carefully. But you need to understand something. I raised you to be independent, strong. I wanted you to build your own life, make your own choices. I'm proud of that. But somewhere along the way, you stopped seeing me as part of that life. I became someone you check in on, someone you feel obligated to include, someone whose feelings are less important than keeping the peace with your wife. That's not true. Table 12. Daniel. It was just a seating chart. It was a message. Maybe Vanessa didn't intend it that way. Maybe she did. But you saw that chart. You knew where she'd put me. And you said nothing. You let me sit in the corner with the junior associates while her mother held court at the head table. You gave a speech thanking everyone who believed in you. And you couldn't bring yourself to name me specifically. I said I felt Mom's presence. Your mother is dead. The words came out harsher than I intended. I'm not. I'm here. I've been here. I paid for your education. I made the calls that got you your first interview. I've shown up for every important moment of your life. And you can't even give me a seat at your table. He was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was small. What do you want from me? I want you to decide if I matter to you. Really matter. Not as an obligation. Not as someone you have to accommodate because he's your father. But as someone whose presence in your life has value. Someone you actively want at your table. Of course you matter. Then act like it. I met his eyes. I won't be table 12 anymore, Daniel. I won't be the afterthought. I won't be the person who gets thanked in the generic closing remarks. I deserve better than that. And if you can't see that, if Vanessa can't see that, then we need to recalibrate this relationship. What does that mean? It means I'm not showing up places where I'm not valued. It means I'm not paying for things that don't include me. It means I'm not accepting scraps of your attention when it's convenient for you. His face flushed. So what? You're cutting me off? Like a business arrangement? No. I'm setting boundaries. There's a difference. This is about money. This is about respect. We stood there in the kitchen, the space between us feeling wider than it had in years. Outside, someone was mowing their lawn. The sound drifted through the open window, ordinary and distant. I need to think, Daniel said finally. Take all the time you need. He left without saying goodbye. I watched his car pull out of the driveway, disappear down the street. Then I went back to the garage, back to the workbench, where I'd been refinishing an old desk I'd found at an estate sale. The work was methodical, satisfying. Strip the old finish. Sand smooth. Apply new stain. Watch something worn and forgotten become beautiful again. 2 weeks passed. Daniel didn't call. Vanessa sent a formal apology via email. It was carefully worded, clearly reviewed by someone with legal training. I didn't respond. I sold the boat. Got a good price for her. Used the money to book a trip to Scotland. 3 weeks. Edinburgh. The Highlands. The coast. I'd always wanted to see the country where my grandfather was born. His mother used to call. Asked about my plans. Fell silent when I told her. You're really going alone? I am. For 3 weeks? Yes. Dad. That's when will you be back? November 15th. Another pause. That's Thanksgiving. Is it? We were planning to host. Vanessa's family is coming. We hoped you'd join us. I'll be in Scotland. Can't you postpone? No. Dad, come on. It's Thanksgiving. We can work this out. Vanessa really wants to make things right. Then she shouldn't have seated me at table 12. I left for Scotland on October 28th. Spent my days walking through ancient castles and along rugged coastlines. Ate in pubs, talked to strangers. Stood on the cliffs at the edge of the world and felt the wind that my grandfather must have felt before he sailed to America with nothing but hope and determination. I thought about my son. About the life I'd built for him. About the man he'd become. I thought about my wife. About the promises I'd made to her. About whether I'd kept them. On Thanksgiving Day, I sat in a small restaurant in Inverness, eating shepherd's pie and drinking a pint of local ale. My phone buzzed with messages. Daniel, Vanessa, even Margaret Holloway, trying to mediate. I silenced them all. I came home in mid-November to a changed landscape. Daniel had been calling the neighbors, asking if they'd seen me. He'd driven by the house repeatedly. He'd apparently had a fight with Vanessa that ended with her mother returning to Boston early. He showed up the day after I returned. Stood on my porch in the cold, his hands shoved in his coat pockets. Can we talk? I let him in. Made coffee. We sat at the kitchen table like we used to. Like when he was young, and the world was simpler. I've been thinking, he said. About what you said. About table 12. About all of it. I waited. You were right. I stopped seeing you. Not intentionally. But I got caught up in my career. In Vanessa's expectations. In trying to be the person everyone needed me to be. And somewhere in there, I forgot that you're not just my father. You're Robert. You're a person with needs and feelings, and a right to be treated with dignity. Go on. Vanessa and I have been talking, really talking, about boundaries and respect and what we want our family to look like. We made some mistakes. I made some mistakes. Big ones. He pulled an envelope from his coat. Set it on the table between us. What's this? Plane tickets. You and me. A week in the Bahamas. Just us. Like when Mom was alive and we'd take those fishing trips. No Vanessa. No work. No distractions. Just father and son. I looked at the envelope. Didn't touch it. I don't want your trips, Daniel. I want your presence. Real presence. Not compensatory gestures. I know. This isn't... I'm not trying to buy your forgiveness. I'm trying to show you that I hear you. That I'm willing to invest time. Real time. To rebuild what I've damaged. And Vanessa? She understands. She's ashamed of the seating chart. Of the way she's treated you. She wants to make it right. But she knows that's going to take time. That you don't trust her. It's not about trust. It's about value. Does she value me as your father? As someone who matters in your life? Or am I just someone she has to tolerate? She values you. She does. She's used to controlling things. Organizing things her way. She didn't think about how it would feel to you. She was thoughtless. Not malicious. Maybe. Maybe not. Time would tell. The Bahamas trip. I said. When? February. I've already cleared my calendar. Told the firm I'm taking a full week. No phone calls, no emails, just fishing and bourbon and time. I picked up the envelope, opened it. 2 tickets to Nassau. A reservation at a small resort. Nothing fancy, nothing designed to impress. Just a quiet place where 2 men could fish and talk and remember. Okay, I said. Okay, we'll go. But Daniel, this is a start, not a solution. You understand that? I do. And when we come back, things change. I'm not table 12 anymore. I'm not the overflow. I'm your father. I'm at the table that matters, or I'm not at the table at all. You're at the table. I promise. We shook hands across the kitchen table. His grip was firm, honest. The grip of a man who'd been given a second chance and knew it. He stayed for dinner. We ordered pizza because neither of us felt like cooking. We watched a football game. We didn't talk about law, or work, or Vanessa. We just sat together in the comfort of companionship, in the quiet knowledge that some relationships are worth fighting for. Later, after he'd gone home, I stood in my garage looking at the refinished desk. It was beautiful now, restored, the wood grain visible again. The surface smooth and rich. Sometimes things need to be stripped down to their foundation before they can be beautiful again. Sometimes you have to remove all the accumulated varnish and damage before you can see what's really there. I ran my hand over the desk's surface, thought about my son, about the work still ahead of us, about whether we could restore what had been damaged. Time would tell, but for the first time in months, I felt something other than resignation. I felt hope, and that was enough.